All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you've spent any time at a university, you know the drill, right? The traditional grading system kind of feels like this solitary race. But what if the secret to actual student success isn't working alone, but evaluating and elevating each other? Today, we're unpacking the PeerCollab initiative and the real strategy behind structured peer assessment.
It really all boils down to this one question. Are we teaching competition or cooperation? Think about it. For years, students sit in rows taking individual exams just trying to beat the curve. But the literal second they graduate and enter the workforce, suddenly everything is teamwork, collaborative problem solving, and peer review. We're expecting them to seamlessly switch gears from a highly competitive mindset to a highly cooperative one. But, well, we never really give them the tools to do it.
Let's start by looking at the university context.
To understand why a change is needed, we've got to take an honest look at our current environment. University culture heavily promotes individualism. It's all about competition, rankings, and grades. That is the old paradigm. Peer assessment, though, it introduces a massive structural shift. It moves the needle firmly toward cooperation and shared responsibility. It's asking students to view their peers not as rivals for some limited pool of A grades, but as actual vital collaborators in the learning process.
Which brings us to why cooperation matters.
Peer assessment actively trains students in 4 specific, absolutely crucial competencies. Why? Because we don't just learn content, right? We learn how to apply it socially. When a student evaluates a peer's work, they aren't just blindly checking boxes. They're building critical thinking to analyze the work. They're practicing argumentation to actually justify their feedback. They're developing academic empathy, really understanding the struggles of another person. And they're building a sense of shared responsibility for the entire class's success. In the real world, your success depends entirely on this exact kind of collaboration.
Now let's talk about ensuring assessment quality.
A super common concern among educators is, wait, can students actually grade each other fairly? Well, the crucial starting point here is reliability. For peer review to be rigorous, it simply cannot be random. Reliability means student evaluations are totally consistent and perfectly aligned with the criteria. Basically, if 3 different students review the exact same project, they should arrive at a very similar conclusion, because they're all using the exact same yardstick.
Next up, we need validity. This ensures that feedback doesn't just, drift off topic. Have you ever gotten feedback that was entirely about your formatting when the assignment was actually about your core argument? Yeah, that's a lack of validity. In a rigorous model, validity guarantees the feedback stays completely anchored to the assigned skills and learning objectives. And finally, we look for accuracy. This is the ultimate goal. This is where the judgments made by students become a fair, true, and totally objective reflection of the actual quality of the work. When you combine reliability and validity, boom, you get accuracy. But, as you might guess, achieving these 3 pillars doesn't just happen by accident.
So, how do we strengthen the process?
It requires a specific framework. Educators have to construct these systems with intent, not just hand out rubrics from the top down. Step 1, build and clarify the criteria together with the students. You got to get their buy-in. Step 2, provide training and practice. You can't just tell them to review each other. You literally have to show them how to give constructive feedback. Step 3, apply it progressively. Start with low-stakes stuff before moving to the major projects. And step 4, always offer teacher supervision. The educator doesn't disappear here. They become the guide who calibrates the student's skills.
And that leads us to moving toward deeper learning. When you implement these structured steps, the whole vibe of peer review completely transforms. The source material hits the nail on the head here. Quote, "Peer assessment in university is not naive. It is a deliberate move toward deeper, competency-based learning. We aren't doing this to save professors' grading time, right? We're doing it because assessing someone else's work forces the student to engage with the material at a significantly deeper, more analytical level than if they just submitted their own paper and walked away."
So how do we actually make this a reality? Well, educators can take action right now. The PeerCollab initiative makes this incredibly accessible. You can grab their Peer Assessment Handbook, which is basically a comprehensive guide. You can apply ready-to-use templates, so no reinventing the wheel when you're designing rubrics. And you can start implementing this structured assessment in your classroom right away to see those shifts in engagement. It is also worth noting the serious institutional backing behind this. This project is co-funded by the European Union and supported by a huge array of international institutions and universities. Together, they're actively working to strengthen teaching quality across Europe. So this isn't some fringe idea. It's a massive, coordinated effort to modernize how we do academic evaluation. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought. Take a look at your own learning environments. Will you continue rewarding isolation, or will you start teaching students how to succeed together? Imagine how much more your students, or even you yourself, could achieve if we were explicitly taught to elevate each other through structured, rigorous peer assessment. The tools are ready, the methodology works. The next step is simply choosing to collaborate.